Um, Dr. McNeely Cobham, what advice do you have for balancing academics, extracurricular activities, and personal life as a freshman in college?
Thank you. Great question. So if I pull on my own experience, which is probably about 33 years ago when I was a college freshman, and the fact that I've been working with college students for the last 31 years, right? So y'all can balance that out. I started right out of college working in higher education. The one thing that holds true is that you want to prioritize, everything around your academic pursuits. That's why you're going to college, right? So that's your first objective, to make sure that you could be successful, that you are moving towards your the credits needed to graduate, and that you are building a network of people and of resources to be successful throughout your 4 5 years that it takes to college, and if you so choose to, in your postgraduate studies. So with that said, what always worked for me, right, before I pledged my sorority, I made sure that I involved myself in extracurricular activities that centered around my major. That way, it was almost like a dual approach. I was focusing on my academics, but at the same time, gaining valuable co-curricular, as we call it, right? So experiences outside the classroom that also supported what I was pursuing academically. My undergraduate degree is in radio, TV, film, and we were 2 hours away, my campus, from New York City, my hometown. So I took advantage of internship opportunities, working with student organizations that allowed me to, if you would, be in the playing field of radio and TV film. It was only later that I chose to become president of the Black Student Union, because it led to a lot of great leadership opportunities. What's really important is that when you are a student leader on campus, it gives you access to administrators who serve as great resources for recommendation letters, who help you with understanding the landscape of the college environment, how to navigate, who could be great sources of mentors, right? So when you might be feeling down about a course or life on campus, you want an adult mentor to be able to go to. Serving as a student leader connected me to a lot of those administrators. So in summary, I would say academics is your first priority. Build everything around that in terms of your personal life and your extracurricular activities. Certainly, you want to make sure you enjoy the college experience and have fun, because that's a memorable time in your experience, to make sure you make friends and network and connect, but build all of that around your academic pursuits.
Thank you. I think that sometimes we often forget that that is a part of um, what we're supposed to do in college, and that's to enjoy. Sometimes people remember that too much, to enjoy college and
Right.
a lot, but that's our first priority, is to get the degree, and
Right.
to ensure that that is what we do first. So thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much, Dr. Carmen. So this question would be for Miss Adams. As a college freshman, it is important for you to be familiar with the resources on campus. Ms. Adams, who are the top 5 people on a college campus a college freshman should know and be familiar with?
Thank you for that question. The top 5 people.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I apologize. Can you hear me
Got it.
now?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna go with financial aid. Being familiar with people in the financial aid office. I'm also gonna go with housing. Their academic department, be it their advisor chair or whoever assists them in reference to their advisement for their courses coming in their freshman year. Student life, I think, is very involved, because outside of the academics, as was shared earlier, you want to have that co-curricular experience and be active on campus. And then also the administration. So every institution is different, but knowing your academic dean or possibly the president or provost, depending on the school or institution you go to. I know students, the president walks the yard every day. you have opportunity where you may be able to speak to your college president or your provost or your academic dean. But I think those are possibly those top 5 people in reference to administration resources. But then I just also want to add, making sure that you also know your peers, your RAs, your orientation guides or student leaders that assist you in your transition to college. So that's actually 6. But I think if you know those individuals and make that connection, it definitely makes your freshman year very a little easier. And actually, they're there to assist you with that freshman year.
Sometimes I think college freshmen are, pretty shy when it comes to just entering college. They don't know who to go to, and sometimes you might not even know who the president is, let alone the provost.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about what's the role of the provost?
Oh, yes. So the role of the provost, that is what we call your chief academic officer. That person is over all the academics for the institution in reference to making sure your programming, you are on track in reference to your academics with how the programs are rolled out, the accreditation for the institution, making sure that you are getting the professors, the faculty members. It interests me with students who don't know the difference between staff and faculty. Faculty are the ones that you're in the classrooms with. They're the people that assist you in reference to your educational pursuit, your teacher courses. Staff are the people that are there to support you, be it in your academic department or in financial aid. But with the provost is over everything academic. They're the chief operating officer, academic person that deals with the academic deans, the chairs, make sure the curriculum is in place. That is actually, if you can know your provost, you're probably gonna have a good 4 years in college in reference to advisement, everything that's going on, because they know the catalog forwards and backwards. And if they don't know, they definitely know who to go to get the answers to the questions when you have questions about your grades or class or different things of that nature. And like I said, depending on your institution, you may see your provost every day. And some of them may tell you they have an open door policy. If they tell you they have an open door policy, take advantage of it. Make an appointment, get to know the provost, make sure they know you and what your pursuit is. And you'll be amazed when you actually find out what their academic background is, what their undergraduate major was, what they finished their graduate program in. So provost is definitely, if you get to know your provost, you probably won't have any issues in reference to your 4 years at the institution if you have a good relationship with them. And as mentioned about recommendations, a recommendation from the provost or the president usually puts you at the top of the list.
Good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Okoli, I'm coming to you next.
Okay.
When we talk about high school upperclassmen, it's important for them to be familiar with resources available to help them determine the best fit. Where should students look and who should they connect with?
That's a really good question, and it's a loaded question. I think very similar to what Ms. Adams was saying about college, I don't think that students recognize the vast similarities between upperclassmen and lowerclassmen in college. When you're in high school, that is your time to explore. That is your time to have fun, but it's also your time to be connected with those individuals that are there at the high school, and then those individuals that come to visit your high school. And so when you talk about best fit, everybody wants to go to a top college. A lot of students focus on pledging or football or athletics, or I don't want to be in New York, it's too cold, or I want to be in Miami because it's going to be lit, or whatever you all say, right? But you have to think about, where am I going to go where I am going to be nourished, where I am going to develop, where I'm going to grow, where I'm going to be able to enjoy an experience that allows me to connect my interests to my passion. And where will I be able to go where I will connect, not just with the students, but the faculty, the staff, and all those individuals. So in high school, I would say connect with your teachers and connect with the people that your teachers and administrators bring to come talk to you. Also, connect with your parents, number one, because a lot of times your parents know people that you don't know that they know. And you go all around the bridge and back again for your mom or dad to say, I know so-and-so up at that college, or that was my line sister, or that's so-and-so's dad. And so I think, other than that, read as much as you can. Google is your friend. When we all went to college, Google was there when I was in college, but I didn't really understand how to, I didn't really know how to utilize it and leverage it as a resource. But there are tons of blogs, Instagram, Twitter. There are individuals whose sole job is to connect students with how to go from K-12 to college. There are a lot of books out there, go on Amazon, shameless plug. I wrote a book called Parenting for College. And in that book, it explores the various tracks, what classes should you take in high school? How should you build your schedule? But more than anything else, you have to learn to be resourceful very quickly, because being resourceful is what separates those students once they get to college. It's what separates the students who are just majoring in something and graduate from those students who major in what they have been wanting to do their entire life, and those students who get internships and externships and doctoral and master's opportunities. And so I would say be resourceful, connect with your parents, and connect with the individuals that your teachers and principals bring to your school.
Thank you. I think that people have the students that are now in high school have to recognize that it starts your freshman year. Ensuring that your grades are on point your ninth grade year, because those grades calculate into your GPA and it grows and builds upon each year. So it's important when you get to your senior year, you might have a few C's or possibly F's in your freshman year, and that's going to make an impact. So it's important that we start our freshman year, those students, when we are looking to go to college. It is important.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say, because I don't feel like I fully answered the question about connection, but you're right. It starts your freshman year, but also the colleges that you want to go to, make sure they have your major. Some students want to go to universities and colleges that don't even have the things that they want to explore. And so that starts early. Do your college visits, talk to admissions counselors. They will talk to you as a high schooler. And some students think that no one will talk to them until they start applying. That's far from the truth. Connect with other students who've been at those institutions or who are still there right now. So again, if you know you want to go to a college while you're in high school, very early on, 9th grade, 10th grade, see what it takes to get there so you can start working on that while you're in high school, but not your senior year. And I tell students, not even your junior year. So I'm with you, Dr. Nichols. 9th grade, it's time for you to get it started, get it popping, do what you need to do.
Absolutely. All right, Dr. Hall, I'm coming down your street now. Can you provide some advice to freshmen to network with other students, faculty, and professionals in the field they are majoring in?
And so if you know what your major is, and a lot of people may not know, they may be indecisive. So if you're trying to figure out whether or not one particular major is a best fit for you, then you should just join some of the clubs and the organizations that are more career focused. So if you're a biology student, you may want to join some organization that has to do with that. And within that organization, you will get information. You'll also get a chance to network with the professors in the field, but you'll get information about upcoming conferences and events. They're always looking for students, especially undergraduate students. As I said before, I work in research, but undergraduate research is a thing, and we need more students to be involved in undergraduate research. So if you join the clubs and organizations that are more focused on your majors, you will get an opportunity to network and get out of the classroom and get off of campus and network with people who are actually working in your field. So you will learn whether or not this is really what you want to do, and you may learn that this is not going to be a good fit for you. So it's always good to start early as a freshman, go to the conferences, go to the events. You say, well, I don't really have anything to offer, but you do. You will take something away. Your presence will be known. People will reach out to you, and you will be able to network with professionals. You also can join professional networks like through things like LinkedIn, even though you may think, well, I don't have a resume, but you can go ahead and build something. And as you are building yourself, you can build that resume and you'll see more opportunities to connect with people outside of your campus. And that's always really important for your internships and your invitations to conferences. And just lastly, when you join the organizations, it's really important to know that there are always scholarship opportunities for students. So scholarships are there, but you may not know it if you don't join an organization. So yeah, and attend campus events, join study groups with other students, who are like-minded and see what they're doing and just kind of connect with each other. So I think that would be a good start.
Awesome. Now I'm going to pose this question to everybody on this call because you all have such great experience, especially, in higher ed, but a lot of times we do see common pitfalls in that freshmen usually face. Tell us about those and how freshmen can avoid them. And that's to anybody, any of the people on our platform today.
I can think of something
Oh.
right off the bat, Dr. Nichols. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Dr. Because it's really, it's one of those things. I participated in a research study with students from Morehouse College and Dillard University and Morgan State University. And these are the top students, as I'm sure our participants now are the top students. These are the students who come to these things and learn these. This particular group of students were STEM students, so they were the top of their classes in all of their schools from across the country. What they didn't have, and the pitfall was that they came thinking that they were the best in their class, didn't really understand or fully understand what it takes to transition from high school to college. And they didn't have study plans, because if you're at the top of your class in high school, you may not be studying as much. But then you come and the competition is just much more, so you really have to have a study plan and start studying proactively. Don't study after you get behind.
Definitely agree with the study plan, but also time management
Mhm.
goes into play with a lot of students that they don't realize. So they don't have their parents sometimes. So for some students, their parents kind of do everything for them. When they get to college, you're on your own. You have to make sure you get up on time for class. You have to make sure you have time to study. You have to make sure you also have time for your break. Sometimes you need a mental health break or just a nap. Sometimes you have to schedule a nap. So time
Mhm.
management is very important in college, and
Mhm.
also making sure that you know what you, well, I shouldn't say what you can handle, but not taking on too much. So time management, and then looking at, oh, I have to take 18 hours and I have to do this and I have to do this, but making sure that your schedule aligns and you're kind of testing the water. So this is your first year in college, more than likely your first time away from home. So just getting acclimated and adjusted, but time management usually is, they think it's 24 hours in a day, but they trying to go 22. And you really can't do that your freshman year.
Mhm. I would add a common pitfall that I've seen is thinking that colleges, once you get to college, that's your time to figure it out. And I don't, I, as a faculty member, even as a mentor to students, I mentor students every year. I'm not a fan of undecided majors. I think that that's a really big pitfall, especially for our students of color. And I think that sometimes culturally we make students believe that it's okay to not know. And while it's okay to not have like an exact, I don't think it's okay to not know. When you go from high school to college, while you're in high school, that's your time to figure out your thing. What do you like? What are you interested in? Start shadowing individuals that if you think you want to be an attorney, go ask one of your mom's or dad's friends, can you shadow them? If you want to be a dentist, if you want to be a teacher, whatever it is you want to do, start exploring what that looks like before you get to college. And so I would say, walking in as a freshman thinking that you have 4 years to figure it out, you don't. You know, you need to ensure that your high school trajectory aligns with the possibilities and the potential that you see in yourself, because that makes the college journey a little bit easier when you kind of have an idea. Now, will you change your major? Probably. I think all of us here probably changed majors. I started sociology, then I went to law, and then I went back to sociology, right? But at the end of the day, they're still interrelated, right? We're not saying go from math to art, but you do need to have some grasp of what it is that you're doing, because what we see a lot of is students get bored in college, or they feel like it's pointless, or they lose their mojo, they get homesick. And, you know, I don't know about your grandparents, but I know my grandmother would always say, and I don't mind is an insert, right? When you don't really have direction, when you don't really understand your purpose, even just a little bit, it's easy to get distracted and get caught up in the wrong things. So that would be what I would say. Know what you want to do when you get there, and anticipate and expect, you know, a change.
What I would offer to the conversation for the students, and if their parents and guardians are also on this call, the first 3 weeks of your semester is crucial, particularly for those who choose to go away to college, meaning you're not living at home, you decide to pack up everything you can carry on that first trip and bring it to a campus. There are a range of emotions that's going to happen for you when it's time to depart away from your parents, your guardians, your siblings, your extended family. And so those first 3 weeks are critical in terms of acclimation to the campus culture, whether or not you develop a good relationship with your roommate or your suite mates. If you're a part of an athletic process, what it feels like to be on the team and gel and get that chemistry going. And certainly the classes that sometimes get assigned to first year students, right? Because you don't have a chance to register. So you are receiving those classes from your academic advisor that are available. And oftentimes they're very early in the morning and you need to get up at least, I would argue, an hour. But to be fair, I probably pushed it to 30 minutes before the class to make sure you can get across campus and get there. And then more importantly, the intentionality of how you build community for yourself. Who is going to be your friendship group, right? The people who you connect with, who you might go to the cafeteria and dine with. Those sort of things happen pretty rapidly. And for some students, when they don't happen right away or organically, they start to lose faith in whether or not the college experience is right for them. And so those first three crucial weeks, you have to be really diligent, intentional, and patient with yourself. And for those who are supporting their student, if they say they want to come home, say no. And I'll just share in brief that my second night of being at college, I caught my mother crying because none of those things were clicking for me that I just mentioned to you. And I'm like, this is not going to work. I need to get back to Brooklyn ASAP. These people don't know me, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know them. And the toughest thing for any parent or guardian to have to do is to hear the person they care about in tears over the phone, and then ultimately to tell them, no, I'm not coming to pick you up. You need to stay there and fight through it and figure it out. Those emotions may happen for you, but know that it gets better and that you really just have to work hard on adjusting and acclimating yourself to the college experience. So there's a pitfall when people think it's going to click right away. We watch TV shows. In my case, I was watching a show called A Different World, right? That was the college show to watch at the time. And I thought I was going to run into the Dwayne Waynes and Whitleys and then just be all, you know, acclimated to campus. And it doesn't work out how TV shows tell you, right? It's really on us. So keep that in mind. Those first 3 weeks, if you can make it past that, you will be well on your way.
And if I could just add, I think what you said about what you want to major in, and I know some parents may not like this, but do what you want to major, not what your parents are asking you to major in, because ultimately this is your career. But if you do your research, it may be what you want to do. But it should be your choice in reference to your major, and not because your mom, dad, auntie, uncle feel that this is what you should major in. You need to figure out what's best for you, what suits you for your major. And then also in reference to being away from home, and this is just my thing. Sometimes it's not best to always room with a friend because when you're friends with someone, you don't live with them in high school most of the time. You see them in school, you may see them after school, but you're not living with them 24 hours in their habits. So sometimes, maybe your friend you may stay in the same residential facility, but it may not always be best to be roommates. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But just think about that when you have friends, because unfortunately, I've seen some friends come in thicker than thieves, and then about 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, can I get a new roommate? So just something to think about. It works out for some people, but sometimes it doesn't work out for everyone. And you should measure in what you want to do, what your ultimate goal is, and profession is going to be after you get out of college.
All great advice. Wonderful advice. And I think that this is all very real conversation, very honest conversation from experts and from women of color that are being honest, especially to our young ladies that are transitioning this year to college. And so that leads us to another question, and it is around selecting courses. As our young ladies transition to college, providing guidance on selecting courses and planning a course schedule. How do we do that? How do our rising freshmen select courses that align with the academic goals that, college freshmen have for themselves? A lot of times academic advisors are going to tell them you need to take these classes and it might be too much. How do you say no? Sometimes they try to overload, freshmen just because they want them to stick with this plan. How do you do that? And that's for anybody.
Well, I'll go
Oh,
first.
Go ahead.
So, most colleges and universities now, the students sometimes don't even have a choice per se. They look at their high school transcript. If they've taken advanced courses, they do dual enrollment. They look at all that in reference to courses that may have transferred in. So you have some institutions, the student gets a schedule and it's their core courses that they have to take. And I know people hate this. Sometimes I call it the 13th grade, even though that's not appropriate, but it's just what I say about it. But then you have some that actually do talk with the students. Hey, are you a morning person? Do you want to take a 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock class? Or would you rather take classes in the afternoon, evening? But the students have to be there. They have to advocate for themselves. And then also take consideration what you may think is an overload may actually get you out of school, out of the university in 4 years. So like we do 15 for 15. So if you take 15 credit hours every semester, more than likely you're going to graduate in 4 years. But you also have to advocate for yourself. You have to do research. And then also what I fall into with a lot of students, they're transfer students. They knew I took English 101. And now they're telling you to take English 101. Some students don't say anything. If you took English 101, you need to ask the question, hey, I took this course. Why am I taking it again my freshman year? Because sometimes maybe they don't have an updated transcript. Maybe they didn't have that in their file. So you also have to ask questions. And long as you're being professional and polite in asking your questions, they're going to assist you. But sometimes you have to advocate for yourself. But then sometimes you are given that schedule because you have to take English 101. You have to take theater arts. You have to take a history course. And this is what it is for your plan and your academic program. So more than likely, you're not taking anything you shouldn't take, but it's the track. But you can advocate, say, I know I'm supposed to take 18 hours is a full load, but I don't feel comfortable taking that 18 hours. Is it possible I can take maybe 12 hours, which is still a full-time student, and I'm doing everything I need to do? But speak up, close mouth, you don't say anything, nobody's going to know. And I always tell people communication is key. So if I don't know what's going on, I can't help you, but we also have to learn how to advocate for ourselves and make sure your catalog is your saving grace, your degree works, whatever your institution may call it. Make sure that you're familiar with your academic plan. Because if you're not familiar with it, you can't always, because sometimes people get confused. Things happen. I could have had a bad day. So make sure that you know your academic plan and what you are supposed to take and the track that you're supposed to be on. And make sure you have a good relationship with your advisor. Because sometimes advisors could have 1,000 students that they're seeing, and you're one of 1,000. So make sure that you advocate for yourself and you speak up and you know what you're supposed to take also. Even as a freshman, carry it with you in your bag. Have it with you. Have it in your phone. Take a picture of it. Have your academic plan with you every step of the way until you walk across that stage, and then you don't need it anymore.
Yeah, I would add to that. I was going to say that as well, Ms. Adams. Advocacy is important, but a lot of times students over rely on their advisors, and they just go in thinking, she knows me, she knows what I need, or he knows me, he knows what I need. So you need to be resourceful. All my students know Dr. Okoli is going to use that word accountability and being resourceful, because you need to know what it takes to complete your program like the back of your hand. You need to have it memorized. It's your program. It's your plan of study. If you don't know where to find these resources and tools, you need to ask for it, but you should have that handy. And while you're meeting with your advisor, while he or she has their folder for you, you should have your own folder and file for yourself. I know my mentor when I was a freshman in college would never forget. She gave me a planner, and it was a big leather planner. And she was like, every time you meet with your advisor, you should be taking notes. You should have a printout of your catalog. You should know it. Because your freshman year, you get a lot of hand holding. You get a lot of personal one-on-one kind of attention. But as you move up in classes, you're slowly kind of getting more independence, and it's on you. I remember being at the University of Georgia. I was a program advisor, and I had a student who was literally upset because she wasn't going to graduate. She was like 6 credit hours short. And her defense was, my advisor didn't tell me. My advisor didn't do X, Y, and Z. But guess who wasn't going to walk across the stage? The student. So again, you're responsible for yourself. And I know that sounds heavy, but the best thing you can do is have a relationship with your advisor, but also don't overly rely upon them. And sometimes, guys, if you're at large universities, like the University of Georgia, we had 34,000 students when I was there. So I don't know you like that. I don't know your name like that. And your advisor may change. So who you may know and get really comfortable with may change. So the best thing you can do is be comfortable with your own portfolio, your own file.
And that would probably lead me to my next question. I'm going to always give props to the University of Georgia. Go Dogs, my undergrad. I'm sorry, I had to do that. But going to attending a large university is tough because you're one in 34,000, right? So you've got to be able to find your place in a large school, and especially being at a PWI, figuring out where you fit in, and especially a person of color. So when we think about that, what advice do you have for students of color, and especially, trying to figure out how do you find your place in schools where a lot of people don't look like you? What's your advice for students that are attending PWI?
I think it's important to find, I'll say two things, because one informs the other. The first part I wanted to say is it's important to find your niche in your community. So the things that you enjoy, the groups that you would associate with in high school, it's okay to look for those same groups in your college environment. And as young people would say, to keep it a beam, it might not be racially based groups. It might be groups based on a sport, right? Or if you like certain video games, or whatever the case may be. So it's okay to find your niche at a larger institution as a person of color, because you're centering yourself, right? Those communities, those small communities, give you grounding. At the same time, it's also really important to stretch yourself and engage with groups of people that you probably would not have interacted with, particularly in the high school setting, right? So make sure that you're expanding yourself, because when you go into the work environment and when you go into graduate school, you're going to be called upon to work with people who are diametrically different than your worldview or your upbringing, your socialization. So I would argue that in terms of acclimation and feeling rooted and grounded, certainly look for your people, your community, and at the same time, use that as a launching pad to stretch yourself and engage with others. My own experience as a person of color coming from an urban environment, I immediately connected to the Black Student Union, and actually in my freshman year, second semester, became president of that organization, because there was a lot of things that they did that resonated with me. At the time, the issue was apartheid in South Africa, right? So from a political lens, I wanted to connect with the group and build on that. I enjoyed the fact that they had a cultural dinner dance. I knew from watching and observing that's where all the Deltas hung out. So I was trying to be cool and make friends with them, knowing that I wanted to pledge down the line, right? And it was a lot of people from the neighborhoods that I was from that was also part of that group. So I was finding, again, my grounding, my rooting, and going from there. And then join, Future Business Leaders of America and a couple of academic honor societies, organizations that I may not have thought to connect with, but certainly stretch me. So that would be my advice.
I would say we've been talking a lot about the social aspect of college, the student affairs lens, the housing. As a faculty member, I would be remiss if I didn't bring it back to, again, just like you are connected with your teachers in high school, you will connect with us as faculty members. We spend time with you and we learn your interests. We learn your passions. Oftentimes, the way to connect is to talk. I know sometimes students are kind of nervous, and the word imposter syndrome comes to mind, because when you are a person of color that is navigating a predominantly white space, it's easy to feel like you've shrunk 5 inches, right? And sometimes we put ourselves in our own box because we're fearful to speak up. They're going to think I'm different, I don't like the same things. These people are not like me. Or so, like what Dr. McNeely was saying is so important, like stretch yourself. What comes to mind is the advice for me. I started at an HBCU. My undergrad was at Fisk University, and then my graduate studies was at the University of Georgia. So I was from an urban environment in South Carolina, went to an all-Black school, and then went to an all-white school or predominantly white school, and was culture shocked, right? Because I'm a graduate student. I know what I'm talking about, but I still felt like I wasn't good enough. I still felt like if I said something, someone's gonna roll their eyes or look at me sideways. I just wasn't confident, but expect to be uncomfortable is what I'm getting at. Long story short, expect to be uncomfortable. And once you anticipate a level of discomfort, then it allows you to open up, because you got to know people won't come to you always. Sometimes you have to be the person in the room that say, hi, my name is, and I am from, and I like to, like speed dating, but yeah, I would say, long story short, your faculty members are there. We see you as a faculty member of color. When I was at a PWI, in my department, out of 32 faculty members, 2 of us identified as people of color, little brown me and my Latino colleague. And so even for us, we feel you because we are also you. And so connect with your faculty of color, because they may be able to tell you exactly where to go and who to talk to and who to connect with. They have former students who are upperclassmen who they may kind of tag you with, like, hey. So don't overlook your faculty members, your professors. Don't be afraid to speak up and connect with us. Oftentimes we'll speak to you and utilize that and leverage that relationship.
Awesome. Thank you. So, we have not talked at all about the new FAFSA. That is something that's new this year. And I'm sure that those that are watching tonight know that we have a new FAFSA that's out there now, and there are some delays that people are experiencing. And so right now, I know that there might be some of our panelists that aren't as familiar with that, but if you have any knowledge or have heard anything about the new FAFSA, can you talk a little bit about that or give some advice regarding the new FAFSA, regarding your institution or what you've heard about the new FAFSA?
So I am not an expert. Financial aid is not my area of expertise, but being in student affairs, working with the enrollment team, I do know about the new FAFSA and the delays, and a lot of the university colleges are working with the students and the parents. I know it is a lot. I think one of our colleagues, when we were talking earlier, said it's like 2 hours to complete the FAFSA, the new FAFSA. So make sure that you are working with your student. I know sometimes our students are very independent and they get the information and I got this, but make sure that you're with your student when they are filling out this new FAFSA. Also, make sure that you're speaking with your high school counselor because they also are receiving information and are aware of different things with the new FAFSA. And then the college and the universities that you're applying to, communicate with them. I know for us at Clark Atlanta University, we delayed processing our scholarships. We delayed our decision date because a lot of students had not completed the new FAFSA, weren't aware of their awards. So how can you make a decision if you're not sure what you may have to pay, what you're eligible for, the scholarships, different things of that nature, because the institution has not received that information. So make sure that you are communicating with your high school counselors because they are aware, they're receiving updates on the new FAFSA. Also, the schools that you're applying to, make sure that you're connected with your admissions counselor and then also whoever you may be assigned to in the financial aid office. And make sure you're checking the deadlines. Don't think, oh, I had to make a decision by May 1st. Because a lot of schools, because they knew what was going on, they said, no, we extended this. You don't have to apply, to our scholarship deadline at this date. We're extending it to this date. Or your award is happening now at this date because of what's going on. So make sure you're communicating with those institutions to see if they have extended their deadlines. And then also some of them have resources to try to assist you getting through completing the new FAFSA. So communication is key. This is new for all of us because unfortunately I haven't filled it out yet, but I got one more semester, so wish me luck.
And I want to also reiterate to everyone that the FAFSA delays, it's not the school, it's the federal government, so that you'll know that it's not the school. So those that are applying to schools or have applied to schools, just continue to work with your financial aid offices, continue to call. A lot of them have pushed the downloads for those to the end of this month of May. And so that is a big impact economically for families. So continue to check on those, making those phone calls because it does impact financially, entering school. So please continue to check on that with your families and continue to seek out scholarship opportunities because they are out there, and just continue to check in on scholarship opportunities. So we are nearing the end, and of course, I want to make sure that we are getting some pearls of wisdom from our panelists for our students that are out there on their pursuit of excellence for college. And I want each of our panelists to provide just a pearl of wisdom. So I want you to dig deep and think about what advice you would give to any of our rising freshman students as they attend college in the fall. And of course, that's a big step, and especially for their parents, because some of them will become empty nesters. And it's a big transition, a huge transition. My son came home last week, and I think I might want him to be back at school right now. Just go back to school, even though he's home on summer break. But I really do think that it is important that students understand that it is truly a blessing to be able to go to college and pursue higher education, and parents being that support and understanding, that you got to be a cheerleader. And when students go to school, that role changes a lot as a parent, because they go off and think that they're grown, and you become more of a facilitator, and helping them to navigate college, because this is this new adulthood that they're experiencing. So love for each one of our panelists to provide some advice to that student as well as that parent as they pursue this new journey in higher ed. So, who'd like to give that first pearl?
I unmuted myself, so I could tag in first. Thank you for sharing that about Caleb. I know you love having him at home with you. At a time when, in terms of a socio-political lens, you have a party that is, if I could be forthright, hell-bent on banning books, not wanting to teach history, and attacking my profession, and that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. All three of those things are tactical, because it's it is a gateway to allow this generation of students who are on this webinar to forget or not know about the fact that there was a time in the United States of America where access to college was denied to historically marginalized people, and more specifically, Black people, right? Jewish people, women, Latinos, Indigenous people, or Native Americans, right? Denied outright. You could not have access to these institutions to pursue an advanced degree. So the blessing is, in spite of all of that, yes, you have access to college, and it might be a lot to put on you all, right? But you do bear in some way the responsibility of carrying the torch or carrying the legacy to succeed on behalf of yourself, your family, and the next generation of students who also want access to higher education. So my jewel or my wisdom to you is to know that yes, you're going to school as an individual, but there's a part of you where you are carrying people on your shoulder that you don't even know about, right? Take that responsibility with honor, and make sure you do the best that you can. But more importantly, know that you absolutely have a right to be on that campus, to be in those classroom spaces, and to be engaging with wonderful faculty and peers that can get you to your next step in life. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
I can go next, Dr. Nichols. One of my favorite quotes is for a person to write their purpose in pen and their pathway in pencil. And so as you're moving from high school into college, now you have a purpose, you're going to go to college, you're going to do all of these great things. But, life is unpredictable. Circumstances may be challenging. So I just ask you all to please just give yourself grace as you're learning, you're becoming an adult. And so your pathway may change a little bit. Be willing to adapt to the changes, be flexible in your thinking, and recognize that you are not the same person that you were in high school. You're growing. So, things may change. Your perspective is going to change. So be willing to be flexible in your thinking and to give yourself grace as you are going through this journey through college, because it is expected that things will be imperfect. But don't let that stop you from reaching your goals.
Thank you, Doc.
I agree with everyone. I was actually going to say something similar to what Dr. Hall said about growth and making sure you're not the same person when you leave, even after a semester or a year, after 4 years. But what I am going to say, this is probably going to hurt some people. Stop living on social media. This generation, which I understand you post everything, but also understand some things don't always need to be posted. Your social media is your advertisement. When people are looking at you for internships, job opportunities, Now they're looking at your social media page, and certain things that you may post may not be appropriate or may not get you the job that you wanted, or the internship, or possibly membership in the organization. So be careful what you're posting on social media. I want you to live your best life, because that's what college is there for. Live your best life. You're there to get a degree. Have fun doing it, but be careful what you're posting on social media, because it can affect you in reference to jobs, internships, and organizations that you may want to join in college. And for the parents, because I have to say it, I refer to some of you as lawnmower parents. You roll over us. It doesn't matter. It's not helicopter parents anymore hovering. Y'all are rolling over. Also give your students a little breathing room. And also understand, I tell people there are probably 4 sides to a student now. The side that they come into an administrator, a side they are with their peers, the side they are with their parents. So we'll go with that 3. And sometimes when I see the different sides, I'm like, oh, wow, this is not the person that comes to my office every day. So give us a little grace, but also give your child some grace, and also know that perfect child is with you every day may not be that perfect child is with us every day. So just give us all grace and, work with us, and also understand there's FERPA. You can't just call us and get information on your child. There's FERPA now, so they have to have a waiver on file. And for the students, we can't give information to your parents when they call us and ask us things. So have that conversation with your parents. And I shouldn't say this, but you may want to get their login for their accounts if you want to know what's going on with their grades. Because I know a lot of parents have logins and they just go ahead and log in. Sorry, students, I just have to let them know that if they have your access to your account, they can go in there and see the grades. As they tell us, they paying for. So just keep that in mind.
I'll go last. So what comes to mind is one of my favorite quotes or sayings. Nevertheless, she persisted. I'm a mommy. I have 2 daughters, one in the 7th grade, one in the 5th grade, who are already talking about where I want to go to college. One of them is I am going to Spelman or Howard. The other one is I'm going to Texas or Georgetown. We have those conversations in our house quite often. They were born in UC Berkeley teas from their dad. And so we keep the conversation going. And so parents, that's the one thing I can say. My pearl of wisdom to a parent is you lead the way. And once you've led the way appropriately, you can trust that they're going to take the torch that's been passed to them and they're going to do the right thing. But persistence, nevertheless, she persisted despite obstacles and circumstances and the ending of relationships and friendships, failing grades, changes of majors. You have to be resilient. There will be doors that will slam in your face. There will be rejection that will happen. There will be people who do not like you. There will be organizations that you may not get into the first time around. You have to know that at Clark Atlanta, and all of us that are CAU people, we can tell you, we say this all the time, I'll find a way or I'll make one. You may have to find the window to that closed door. And sometimes that window could be in a connection or a relationship. You're going to have to do some things that you do not want to do, but never give up. Be resilient, be persistent in all your endeavors, because every single thing you do matters, everything. And we all have kind of said that. So my pearl of wisdom would be 2, resilience and persistence.
Thank you so much to our special guest tonight. We do appreciate you for everything, every word that you have provided to our viewers tonight. Thank you to everyone that joined us tonight. We hope that you learned something about navigating this college landscape. Tune in to the rest of our events during this May week, activities this week. And thank you so much for joining us. All of our events that have been sponsored by the Atlanta Suburban Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Special thanks to our president, So, Madam Sora Sabrina Clark, whose birthday is today, as well as our Vice President, Miss Tama Trammell. I think I saw her tonight. And thank you to everyone that joined us. And thank you for learning about all the places you'll go navigating the college landscape. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.